Today, I am very lucky to be passing over to Tyson Young of Octfolio. Now, Tyson is going to dive into Linear, which is a project management application very popular with development team for issue tracking and managing all types of scenarios that come up in software development. Now, Linear is growing in popularity, and Tyson is going to take us through how he uses it with his team to take full advantage of issue tracking, monitoring, design, and development, and bringing things to market. So I'm very happy to have worked with Tyson on this one. Tyson has put together a really comprehensive overlook of this, and I thought it would be really interesting. If you're looking for a more in-depth guide on how to use Linear, you can find it linked below over on Toolfinder, which is the sponsor for today's video. You can find Toolfinder linked below if you're looking for any productivity tool and dive into Linear's beginner's guide as well. So over to you, Tyson. Thank you very much for coming on, and I'm very excited for you to be given this tour into Linear.
Hey, Francesco. Thanks very much for having me on Keep Productive. It's a pleasure to be here talking with you and your audience. My name is Tyce. I'm the head of product at Octfolio. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm dialing in today from incredibly sunny Brisbane, Australia. Quick bit of context. Octfolio is a software product that helps environmental agencies and asset owners capture asbestos risk in the built environment. We help them comply with regulation, and we also help them communicate those risks to occupants within the building and contractors on site. Now, why I'm here today talking about Linear, we use it to help manage our entire product lifecycle from scoping and issue tracking, development, delivery, bug reporting, the whole box and dice. I can honestly say Linear is one of my favorite tools to use. It is an absolute joy. Let me preface this as well by saying I am not affiliated with the company. Anyone that works at the company, I'm not receiving anything for this. It is just one of those tools that when you stumble across something that I personally think is as good as this, you can't help but to rave about it and tell everyone and try and convince all of your friends in the community to use this. It is fantastic. And if nothing else from this video, I would highly recommend, if you're in the product space, if you're an engineer, product manager, even designer on a software team, just try it. Couldn't be happier to have found this. To set the scene of why I love Linear so much, over the last kind of decade of my career in software design and product management, I've used Excel in the very early days. Great for a static list. Podio, which I think is now owned by Citrix, Smartsheet, Notion. Now, a quick caveat to Notion. I know they've just released a kind of product issue tracking kind of element to their own product. What I will say is we love Notion. We use it for all our kind of wiki, workspace collaboration, a lot of documenting. What Linear do is they focus on issue tracking and software development. They do one thing and they do it incredibly well. So yeah, use Notion, used Trello. This was pre-Atlassian acquisition. Have also used it after the acquisition. I've used Jira for about 4 or 5 years. And at the time, I really did like it. It's a funny one. It's one of those tools that I think you're either in the Jira camp or you're not. People love to hate Jira. My brother still loves it. He's a senior UI lead at a bank at the time of recording this. He enjoys it. Trying to find good things to say about Jira. I have a bit of a soft spot for them because Atlassian is, an Australian company, but Linear, hands down, is, in my opinion, better in absolutely every facet of managing a product lifecycle. Now, just before joining the team here at Octfolio, they were initially working with some external contractors who were great devs and had built their own internal tools, but like a lot of internal tools, didn't have the resources to maintain it. So it was, if I'm being honest, it was a little clunky to use. It was a lot clunky to use, and it relied heavily on Word documents. So people writing scopes and then also writing the feedback to those issues in a Word document and commenting and uploading and downloading. It was a bit of a mess. When I came on board, quickly transitioned the team to Clubhouse, which later rebranded to Shortcut. That was okay. And then, yeah, one day stumbled across Linear. I think it was on Product Hunt, and very happy that I found that post. To whoever that was, thank you very much. Yeah, Linear is beautifully designed. It is incredibly fast, and they pay attention to detail like I've never seen before. The level of product polish is amazing. I'm not affiliated with Linear. This is purely my way of trying to give back to the community and say, if you're in product, if you're in software, you haven't used Linear, it's worth giving a shot. It's one of those tools that I think you don't understand how much it can improve your workflow and your team's joy in building software until you've actually used it. So today, with all that context of the tools I've used before and now moving over to Linear, I wanted to give you a bit of a walkthrough of how we use it. And I will say, take this with a grain of salt. You know, every product is different. Every product team and their workflows are different. Linear is opinionated software. But at the same time, it's also incredibly flexible within those bounds, at least for what we need. We don't use 100% of the features. We've probably focused our attention on a subset, and it works really well for us. So let's jump in. What I will say is there's only so much we're going to be able to cover in a short walkthrough. So I'm not going to deep dive any of the features per se, but I do want to cover some kind of broader topics. So I'll start with the general interface to give you a bit of a lay of the land. We'll talk about the inbox. It's similar to, I suppose, an email inbox, and it's one of the areas I spend most of my mornings. We'll talk about projects and roadmaps briefly. Now, we don't use that a whole lot at Octfolio at the moment. It's something we're planning to use in the new year. We'll talk about cycles. It's something we have been using pretty much from the get-go. It's an incredible way to manage just the cadence of our product and shipping. We'll talk about custom views. It's another one of my favorite features of Linear. I'll talk about the command menu, which is just a super fast way to perform all actions within Linear. Linear was the first tool that I'd actually used that uses the command bar. I've seen it kind of become fairly prolific. It's actually something we're looking at using in our own tool. Linear does it really, really well. I'll also touch on keyboard shortcuts. If you do see the screen jump at any stage, I've probably just defaulted to using some shortcuts instead of using the mouse to click around. For the purpose of this tour, I'll try and stay with the mouse. Starting with the interface in general, we've got the workspace that we're in currently. You can have multiple workspaces if you work with different organizations, really quick and easy to jump between those organizations. Your own profile and all those settings. Any recently viewed issues, which I find this menu to be really, really helpful. The standard kind of areas that you're going to see in every workspace. You'll see as well off to the right that tooltip showing G then M or G then U. These keyboard shortcuts, Linear is incredible when it comes to the speed of keyboard shortcuts. So for instance, if I was to hit G then S, it takes me to settings. We've got any favorites down the left. So these are favorite views, areas of the tool that you might want to jump to quickly. So for instance, I've got beta release final push. You know, we're in the final stages of getting ready for launching a new beta of one of our tools. Getting really excited about that. I've got that up in my favorites. If I was to take that off and add it back, just to give you an idea of what that looks like. Scrolling through this list, hopefully it's clear to see how quick and streamlined this product is. You've then also got all of the teams. This might be, if you're an admin, all of the teams in your organization or just the teams that you have access to as a user. Each team as well has their own settings, which makes it really helpful for customizing the workflows. Product, for instance, if I go back to settings, G then S, and then look at the product team's workflow, we've broken this down into a number of stages that works for us to get a more contextual view of what this translates to in terms of the workflow. You can see that translated across just on the standard Kanban board view. If you do want to filter this list really quickly, so I might look for just filtering by the issues I'm on, easy to drag and drop between different statuses. Being able to change the view grouping and ordering can be really helpful depending on what you're trying to find or any insights you're trying to collect from a cycle. And then as well, being able to look at the progress of this particular cycle, who's assigned to what labels you've got on all of the tickets and any projects. Now, truthfully, I don't actually use this section a whole lot. It's probably something where we're starting to get better at, is actually proactively planning our cycles to be more reasonable, not overfilling them and ending up with 50% of our time on reactive bug fixes, and then ultimately pushing out a lot of the cycle that we had idealistically planned of all the features and the new builds we wanted to do. And this has been, I suppose, one of the challenges for me as a product manager as well, and also looking after some of the project management, is delivering with a sense of cadence and also realizing what we are capable of as a team. It probably wasn't until using Linear and having these visualizations that I was able to collect these insights and also communicate those higher up as to what we're achieving and why certain features may take longer than what we had initially hoped. I should point out too, these filters are really powerful and you can kind of build up a query as detailed as you need. But if you do just want to quickly see who's working on what, really simple to just open up this side panel and filter by a particular team member. I find this helpful because I can start to see where someone might be either burning out, they've got too much on their plate, help redistribute some of that work, or also just help me as I'm planning out the capacity for the next cycle. Whilst we're here on the board view, it's probably a good opportunity to talk about the information we can see on cards. So just at a glance, I can see the issue ID, name of the issue, its priority. So I can change that from here if I need. Its estimate, any open merge requests on GitLab, connected intercom issues. So I can see I've got a message here. If I just want to quickly open up intercom, I can do that. If I want a preview of that message as well, I can jump into the ticket itself and get a preview of the message. As well, if I don't necessarily want to see as much information on cards, I can take some of that information off. So maybe I don't need to see the issue ID or the status, labels, etc. So I'm left with just some kind of basic information, the issue title, how many sub-issues it might have, and any parent issues it's related to. Let's get them back up. One of the other areas that I absolutely love about Linear is this dedicated triage inbox. So items that do go into triage will appear in my actual inbox up here as well. But triage is a dedicated space to the tickets that aren't yet assigned. So I can open up any of those tickets, see all of the information relevant, and triage is part of our workflow. You can turn this off if you don't need it. I like having it because it's a great way for team, any members on the team to just quickly open an issue. It's first going to go to triage because that's where we've set issues to default to. Again, all of this can be changed. They could quickly say issue with XYZ, whatever it is, add a description, and they don't necessarily need to go into all the detail that I might want on a ticket. Now, we do have standard ticket templates that are great, and all of these templates are set up in your workspace settings. Again, this is all the kind of stuff that I said take with a grain of salt. It's our process, it works for us, and it's something that we continue to iterate on and improve. And the benefit of it going to triage is anyone creating the ticket doesn't necessarily need to worry about all of the details to make it perfect for an engineer, because it can come here and it's kind of a QA step for us to make sure the tickets that are assigned have all of the information that they need. And you don't have to be a product person or an engineer to write tickets. Really simple for absolutely anyone on the team to do it. really quickly to jump in and search for issues. I love the fact that it's got recent searches and also recent issues. The search is incredibly powerful. So if I was looking, for instance, for anything related to Inspector, one of the apps we've got, the speed at which it queries the database. Again, I've spoken about speed, and I'll probably say that a lot because it is one of the aspects that truly sets Linear apart from the competition. I've never used a product this fast, and even when I lose internet connection at home or the office, it still allows me to work and then resync later on, which is probably something rather unique. I will apologize as well. You probably will see a lot of blurred out information through here, just given that this is obviously related to our development and production environments, but hopefully you get the gist of it. And for more unblurred walkthroughs, I'm sure Linear have a few videos of their own. But yeah, on a day, I'll typically start in my inbox, like emails, see all of the latest activity on issues that I'm either subscribed to or waiting on comments for status changes on projects I'm on. If I jump into a ticket here, for instance, you'll see the ticket itself, any parent issues it's related to, what team it's in. I can use normal kind of up and down arrows to navigate through my inbox. I've also then got the data related to this ticket, its status defined by our own workspace. So I'll jump into that in a moment. Its priority, who it's assigned to, estimates. Again, we're just using pretty standard t-shirt sizes for our estimates. We don't always use them. And again, like I said earlier, we don't use every single feature of Linear always. I think what I love is it doesn't force you into this kind of way of working. It certainly guides you towards best practice, but it also doesn't make your life difficult. I think it works around you quite well. Any labels? So really quick to add labels. Let's say this was related to infrastructure. I can add that or take that out if it's not. When I make changes that quickly, it will take it off the audit trail if it was a mistake. This audit trail is incredibly effective as well. I spoke earlier about using the internal system that was built prior to me coming on board, and there was no real audit trail. Everything's done in a Word document, but being able to go through the history of a ticket is really, really useful, especially when it's this quick. I was on a Teams call the other day and I had made a change in Linear whilst my colleague was screen sharing. I alt-tabbed the second I hit enter and I could see that it had already updated on his end. And this is what I mean, like the speed is ridiculous. I really love how quick it is to get through all of your updates. So let's say, I can see the message that's highlighted here is actually the reason it's in my inbox. So I can see a new comment from Raf. There's nothing I need to action here. So I just hit D on the keyboard. It deletes that notification and then moves me to the next one in the list. We use cycles, 2-week cycles. We're actually transitioning next year to 6-week cycles with a 1-week cooldown. And again, all of this is built into Linear, making it really easy to track. If I was to open this cycle, I can see a particular, we're set to a Kanban board here, see what the progress of the cycle is, how everyone's tracking. Can see all of the labels assigned to tickets in this particular cycle, and then any projects we're actually working on. Being able to drill down into specifics is great. If that's the way you work, fantastic. Truth be told, I don't use this section a whole lot. It's interesting to know, but it doesn't really change too much for us. But for the moment, let's jump back to that actual issue. The other great thing with Linear is just the ability to use the keyboard only. I know that is probably more useful for engineers who are used to a keyboard only kind of workflow. One of the interesting and kind of fun features of Linear is warp mode. So hitting W, you'll see all of these key combinations pop up. Let's say I wanted to jump to our beta release over here, but didn't want to use the mouse. I can hit A. It then hides all of the keyboard combos that don't start with A. And then the next one, of course, is V. Again, from here, if I want to use warp mode, I can hit W and open up a ticket, F, Q, and it's going to jump into that one. If I want to look at one of the related tickets, FX, you can jump around with the keyboard. Now, the power of Linear really is in the workflows and the flexibility there, but I suppose a core feature of an issue tracking tool are the issues themselves. If I just open up a couple of the issues, and we'll do it from the final push view and looking at items that are currently awaiting review. So let's say we just jump into the one at the top of the list. The anatomy of this issue, we can see the issue ID really quick. Again, these are the small product polish things that I was talking about earlier. Quick to copy the issue ID or copy the link to this issue. When you are in an issue, so just to edit, double click to jump in there. Pasting in a link from Loom will automatically give you the preview, and you can play that from within the ticket and also review any of the comments in there. Adding sub-issues for things related to this, being able to have a conversation about it, and this thread on this issue is very easy to follow. And now that I've actually commented on it, I'm automatically subscribed to this ticket. So again, as any additional updates come in, whether I'm tagged or not, will appear back in my inbox. Another core component to Linear is, of course, creating issues. You can either hit C to create an issue, you can click this button over here, or you can hit V and go into a full screen view of the issue. Let's say for this particular ticket, I'm going to ask for a new feature in our product. So I'll say, show photo actions at the top of a record checklist. I'll jump into Figma. I'll grab this board, Command L to copy that frame to the clipboard. When I paste that in, we've got an integration now set up with Figma where it will paste in a preview of that shot. Now, if it's a smaller frame, for instance, let's say down here, and I paste that in, I'll get a full page view of that particular frame. Now the frames will be dynamic, so if I make changes within Figma, and let's just say I remove this, for example, and then refresh this, that preview's now been updated. I leave the estimate to the engineers. I'm going to give it a label though. I'll say this is a feature for the UI and actually UX as well. Now, if I do hit the tick here, it won't close the label drawer. Now, I do my best to not overload a cycle when we're in the middle of it, trying to increase our cycle hygiene, if you will, by only really assigning new features or improvements to future cycles. Put that there. Then I'm going to say this is for the beta release. So I can see here a prompt's shown up that I didn't realize I was actually creating a ticket in the wrong team, because wherever you hit C or create issue from, that's the team it will assign it to. So what I'm going to do is save this ticket. Then I'll hit Command K, type in team, and then move that to the inspector team, which is where I'll then add it to the beta release. Very, very quick and simple to move around issues and the product itself. We're going to give roadmaps a lot more attention in the new year. What we're finding as a small team is we're doing a lot of reactive work on bugs, and the optimistic view we had of being able to build out all the features that we wanted quite often getting pushed. And recently listening to Lenny's podcast, shout out to Lenny, and Jana Basto, one of his recent guests, on this concept of now, next, later. I think it's something that we've been doing without realizing really what are we focused on right now, and everything else is pretty much going to come into the next or later buckets. There are certainly a lot of roadmaps that look a lot cleaner and maybe healthier than this. It's just not something we've used a whole lot, but it is one of those areas I think that will bring a lot of power and visibility to teams that rely on road mapping and dependencies. I mentioned earlier the command menu, which you can access via Command K, for instance. And anything you can do in Linear, you can pretty much do from the command menu. What I want to do first is jump to an issue. So let's say I know an issue ID. I'm just going to hit / and go to INS 300. Now, this is an old ticket that you can see is already done. So this is the workflow that we've looked at previously in settings. I might want to say change the parent issue that this is assigned to. So hitting Command K and type in parent, change parent issue, and then find items that are in my recent, or if I know the issue ID, I can type that straight away. So let's say it's INS 377, for instance. Straight away I can do that, hit enter, and it's been reassigned. I don't want to do that, but just for example. This has been a really quick tour around some of the core areas of Linear that I use. Hopefully I've been able to communicate the value it brings to us and what it might also to you and your team if you decide to give it a shot. There's only so much I can cover, but if you do want to connect and ask any questions, you're more than welcome to hit me up on LinkedIn, or better yet, actually in the Linear Slack community. Thanks very much for sticking with me, and I'll try and float around the comments of this YouTube video as well over time and answer any questions there. Good luck.